So we are here, and as we come here, we would like to remind everybody watching, tuning in, that the message has been clear but inconsistent in its repetition, and oftentimes this leads to a harmonic imbalance, and that harmonic imbalance then causes the instruments to become disrupted and unusable. So we've had to do some clearing, but we believe the groundwork has been established for a pretty consistent message over time. Now, what is the message? What's the message? Well, the message is the same as it always is, and it is the only unchanging truth in the universe, of the world. It's the thing. And in truth, you already know the message. However, your current daily consciousness either pushes it to a side or actually is not aware of it. And either one of those is okay. It's not wrong or bad. It just is. So the message. What is the message? The message is this. You are the Christ. You are the light, and you are the truth. You know who you are. You know what you are. And you know how you serve. This is the truth. The truth of the world, the undying truth, and the undeniable truth. This is the truth that each individual knows in their soul, and this is the truth that they come into this incarnation with. So the question becomes, what happened? Because you know who you are, you know what you are, and you know how you serve. You know who you are. And if we were to take a moment and do an exercise of recognizing who you are, you would say, yeah, of course. That's who I am. Now, my job here is to help you remember who you are. Your job is to remember. And in that, magic happens. In that exchange between you and I. Now, there's a lot more going on than meets the eye, and in truth, the eyes can often deceive you. If you look at the eyes, they say they are the window to the soul. This is true, but there's more to the window analogy that is often left out. You see, the thing about a window is you can see through a window. It's true, a window may be open, but here on Earth, the references we use for windows are physical things that you can see through. They stop the air from going through. They stop the bugs from going through. Ultimately, it's a barrier. And most people rely on this barrier to be the truth of their reality. Now, this barrier creates a separation, and in truth, the barrier is there. You keep, like, I have a head, I have an eyes. But you have to look beyond that. Because the you of who you are sees with more than these eyes. The you of who you are sees it all. And it's the identification of with what you see through these eyes that causes confusion. You may have heard the phrase, "Do my eyes deceive me?" Trust me, I know what I saw. These are things we say to convince other people that we're not lying, that we're telling the truth. Here's the thing. Until you know the truth and until you accept the truth, you can almost guarantee that every time you open your mouth, it's going to be a lie. Now, that might be a pretty stark statement, but if you don't know who you are, you don't know where you come from, and you don't know how you serve, then you end up in a place, a dimension that is not real. And the mind needs to fabricate justifications and explanations for its existence. And so, the mind will create a reality around itself to justify it and make it so. I remember I used to listen to Shinedown was my favorite band. And there's a song, I can't remember exactly what song it is, but basically the gist of it is like, yo, I'm not gonna be the one to confirm your self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, you made up a story for yourself. I'm not going to confirm it for you to make it true. Right? Because then that pulls me in. And I know who I am. Right? So it always goes back to forgetting who you are. Forgetting. Not knowing. Ignorance. And when you forget who you are, you end up in the realm of the ego, the mind. And this, in truth, is not the total truth. It's not all of it. And if you begin to identify with that reality and say this is the absolute, things will start to scale. They'll start to crust. They'll start to calcify. And they will become that. And I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about. See, this is the thing. When I speak, I cause dust. I stir things up. And really, all I do is speak from my experience, because I have not lived your experience, right? Well, I have, but not right now. So when I speak, all I can speak from is what I know. And if this is resonating with you, it's because it's true. And truth has a little funny thing about it. It's got a way of slowly inching itself in and wedging against anything it can find and expanding like a root. And as it grows, it starts to break apart the foundation of what it's growing in. Now, they say the mind is a garden, the soil, you gotta garden your mind, you gotta clean it. But the mind is the garden for truth. So if you just have a mind and no truth in that, you have an empty garden. And it doesn't matter how much you weed your garden. If there's no fruits or vegetables in it, or flowers, then you just have an empty plot, an empty patch of soil. You should have let the weeds stay in, because at least that's sustaining life. So who cares? You cleared your mind. What good is that? Your mind is not for you to hold, right? I think Sadhguru said, your mind is a temple for God to come in. All you're doing is holding the space long enough to become the thing of which you came to be. And if you get caught up with living and relationships and finances, society and culture, then you forget who you are and you forget why you're here. And you start to suffer because you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. You're not leaving yourself open. Now you may think, hey, I'm an open, free person. I like new things. I like to experience, and I'm social and cool. You can be. But the question is your mind still open for something greater to come in? Or are you driven to fill it with other things? For me, I'm driven to fill my mind with software architecture information. Like I can't stop studying tech and programming. I can't stop. I can't stop thinking about it. But where does that leave space for God? Where does that leave space for something greater? Now, if it's not actually driven by the ego mind, and if it's being cosmically planted in there, that's one thing, right? It's fine, and it's not really up to you to question these things, right? But what it is up to you to do is make sure that you're seeking out the right things to fill it with. Now, most people get started by just stopping filling their mind with shit, and that's fucking great for them. Like, it's great. Right? Because if you're constantly filling your mind with shit, you're never going to be able to do what you're supposed to be doing. Because you're an animal, and you're inside an animal body. And if you lay with the animals, then you're going to be one. Right? And so, how do you rise above that? Well, first you stop tuning in. You stop showing up. You stop doing what you're supposed to do. Because what you're supposed to do isn't what Christ is telling you to do. It's not what Buddha is telling you to do. It's not what the Dalai Lama is telling you to do. It's not what God's telling you to do. Who's telling you to do what you're supposed to do? Who? Who's telling you to do what you're supposed to do? Now you might say, I am. I have responsibilities. Okay. Who gave you those? Who said this is a responsibility and it's yours now? Now you may think, hey, Riley, like, you're just talking bullshit. Like you're asking ridiculous questions and they have no answer to them. And maybe. But what if you really sat down and thought about it? What if you grabbed a notebook and answered these questions like a test? And you had to sit down and write an essay about it. No, I'm not saying I've done this, right? And I'm not asking you to either. But what I am asking you to do is to question, why are you doing the things that you do every day? Why? And once you have that answer, why do you believe that? Did you forget who you were? Did you forget why you came here? Did you think that the dreams that were gifted to you were just some lofty thing that everybody gets, that you'll never actually be able to achieve? That for some reason you were just gifted this thing in your mind and it's supposed to just sit there and make you suffer while you go out and live your life? Does it seem like it makes sense? Am I getting through to you? When you forget who you are, you forget what you're supposed to do. You forget why you're here. And when you forget why you're here, you think you're living in hell. And in fact, you start creating one around you. And the worst part is you bring other people with you. And that is the opposite of why you're here. It's the polar opposite of why you're here. So, like I said, we are here and we are with you, and we are with you always. And the truth cannot be denied. And those who would try to deny the truth in good company will find it within themselves. And ultimately, time brings everybody in a circle.